Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. Welcome to our earnings call as we talk about our earnings for the fourth quarter of 23, status on our transformation plan, and also the Q&A session. Before we begin, we would like to summarize the main messages that are here in the material disclosed yesterday, the video, the presentation, the numbers, and the overall status of the plan. We want to cover the main messages. So please, let's share our screen. First of all, when we take a look at the key messages for the fourth quarter and we talk about the transformation plan, I want to reinforce that I'm really happy and confident with the capacity for execution that our team has in this transformation plan. So a quick analogy, if you look at Formula One, for example, a sport I really love, we adjusted our car in 2023. We have a new car to accelerate now in 24. So it's a new car. There's still some incremental improvements to work on, but they will bring results we expect. So I'm super confident that the results in the bottom line will be delivered with possible positive surprises. And after I'll talk about each of these dimensions. Then we had a significant cost reduction plan, which makes the company leaner. And this seemed to be a very precise strategy because we bet on a more challenging macro scenario with restrained demand that has been confirmed for long-lasting or durable goods that have an average higher ticket. The reduction in the interest rate will take a while to have an impact in our categories. So we prepare the company for this challenging scenario focusing on profitability, although we have to give up a bit on the revenue and delivering the bottom line and the cash flow. So this is discipline that's here in the company. We're able to overcome our expectations to bring this lower than 90 days, around 75 days actually, at a level that's very efficient, the minimum historically in the company. And obviously we see the opportunities for some structural changes, more like midterm, to optimize our company with a revision in the mix. And the fourth point in this capital structure is an important milestone, which is the recovery of the trust levels in the market. As the management team set up a plan and considered how we would be able to work on this, and the delivery up until now has been able to allow us to recover this and work with the liability management and also bring in other opportunities for levers in our capital structure. So that would be a lot easier to perform the sales, and the proposals would be a lot less advantageful for the company. And the fifth point is our liquidity level that's very stronger, which is really focused on free cash flow. So it's the first year that we close with this kind of positive free cash flow. And of course, we have a lot of upside to reap, and we don't have the restructuring costs anymore. I think the main message here is our commitment to profitability, and the revenue has been below our plan, and we're going to keep our commitment to generate value. So generating sales with irrational conditions won't be something we're going to be focusing on. So we've been able to keep our market share and even gain market share in some of our core categories, which is what's most important for us. So we removed half of our categories, and part of them also impacted our physical stores. So we had a little bit of toys, a little bit of cleaning supplies, a lot of 1P, and then we were able to keep this basically furniture, a bit of beauty, and home appliances. And another important message is with the buy now, pay later scenario. It's very strong and resilient, the lowest non-payment rates, and the addressable market's growing. So we have a lot of demand with potential for growth. And of course, we will be having a new funding model. We're going to be migrating gradually, and in 2025, we should be able to accelerate this. I'm going to talk it on. I'm going to pass it on to Elcio to discuss the financial highlights, and then we'll get into the Q&A. Okay, Elcio? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Renata. Good afternoon, everyone. On the financial highlights, we presented three main. So first of all, the execution in this transformation plan. So the impact of the non-recurring effect and the priority of the company with liquidity and the cash flow, and then the capital structure as well. So this is the accounting effect, so you can understand how the actions and the plan has been impacting the financial statement. So we mentioned three categories of events that explain results in this quarter. The first one is the remaining stock. We worked on this to greater scale. And so you can see that in the fourth quarter, it's a smaller impact. And so we have this other third category, which is the provision for default. So overall, we have 622 million reais in the layer for non-recurring topics. Most of them come from the transformational plan. And I think what's most important is to understand this non-recurrence. What we can understand is that we announced these different impacts and measures, and we were able to announce these on the 10th of August, when we were able to consider the transformation of the results in the second quarter. And we also saw the need to have the structural cost of the company at a level that's way below, making the company lighter, more agile, and directed to greater profitability and discipline with the input capital. So another important topic, which is the gross margin of 27.6% versus 23%. And so we had an improvement of 4.6 percentage points, which is mainly due to the reduction of the stocks, and which is a lot greater. And the SG&A had a reduction of 4.2% compared to the last year, which demonstrates some benefits of the transformation plan. So if you consider, which was 17% lower than the fourth quarter last year, if we consider the adjustment of 5% that we had. So the big message here is that there's still a lot of non-recurring events, considering a magnitude of 622 million reais, which will make the company more agile, lighter, and when we consider the next slide, if we just remember this concept of the free cash flow, as we mentioned, it's generated before the payment of the debt and the compensation of shareholders for the follow-on and the fundraising of new resources. So that's, of course, where you have the fulfillment of the financial obligations. And of course, the most relevant, which was positive by 648 million reais. So this is a reversal of the trend. And what's most important is that it demonstrates the positive fourth quarter. And as a highlight, we had a cash flow of 621 million reais above the interest payment in the quarter. So this is a clear direction. And why was it stronger in the fourth quarter and the second semester when it made this balance shift, right? Well, this is because you have the impacts of the initiatives we started, and some of them are even the stock reductions, where we had a reduction of 1.2 million reais year over year, a reduction of 18 days in our stock levels, even actually below what we had set as a target. and we continue to accelerate this monetization process for tax credits. And as you can see in the full presentation, we have this sequence quarter over quarter that's really focused on the sale of the credits or reduction of the stocks, which represents uh, lower tax credits at the inflow. You have a focus on profitability to guarantee greater margins and improvements in your tax credit stocks, and also big focus on the operation of the logistics and tax situation in the company to maximize everything. So we have the CapEx impact significant reduction, which is really impressive in 2023. We were able to have 400 million in 2023, which also demonstrates the discipline of the capital of the company. And this does not mean we're not investing in priority technology and UX, which are very relevant for us to continue to invest and focus on. But it demonstrates that the cash that position is still not the ideal. We're capturing some of the benefits of this transformation plan that are going to be more evident over the next periods. And so we can move on to the next one. And here we talk about the liquidity and leverage position. So I want to remind you of the photograph we had in the third quarter with the liquidity and the short-term debts, and we were able to have a big effort to reprofile the debt 1.5 billion reais. So this is all reflected here in this uh, line, and we also increased our liquidity to 3.6 billion reais with all the levers and everything we just mentioned in the previous slide. So this also places us at a liquidity index, which is a liquidity upon short-term debt to 2.9 times, which is a position that's a lot better than last quarter. And this is an ongoing exercise in the company from the treasury area here to improve processes and the debt profile of the company. So pass the floor back to Renato. Well, thanks, Elcio. So just to keep up here, I just wanted to quickly cover the main messages and a bit of what we're looking at up ahead. So we can jump to the next slide. The main message is looking at the year of 2023. You can see this new cycle with an adjustment in the company's strategy to really do the basics well done. The second point is a robust transformation plan. You all know very well, and important levers as well, with 1.6 billion reais in the entire improvements. And we're really confident we're going to deliver these and bring in new levers. The new lever we're going to be adding is the Casas Bahia ads. So this is a new platform to have retail media, and we've already signed 20 contracts, so we're going to bring in a few hundreds of million guys with as revenue with this like 50% margin should help. And we're going to provide more details as soon as we disclose the order. It's going to be launched formally in March. So we already signed over 20 contracts. The point is the recovery of confidence in the market, allowing us to have improvements in the structure of our capital structure and also a strong liquidity cash flow commitment, making the company prepared with the short-term challenges. So you can see how we are looking at this up ahead. So we're focused on the core businesses, durable goods, which is different than the generalist e-commerces. We cut down a lot of aspects, and our focus is on profitability. So you can see our plan was even considering a drop in the GMV by 2.5%. And it's dropping more, especially online, with some channels, of course, that didn't seem to be profitable. And when you adjust this commercial condition, it loses volume. So we don't have this kind of commitment. So we have a lot of commitment towards services, and this is also contributing to margin. So we can recover our historical levels Um, we've been gradually recovering this quarter over quarter. We are improving uh, this situation, and we have a lot of levers in this assortment, so we can improve these margins gradually and contribute to the EBITDA up ahead. So expenses are very important. The material reduction will lead to a new level of EBITDA, which is stronger, and to do this at a whole nother level, really, of EBITDA. Then our cash flow is still the focus of the company's management, free cash flow, and we have a lot of comfort and confidence when we talk about labor claims and monetization of tax credits. Everything's really coming through this plan, and monetization is a little better even, with some potential upsides contributing to the free cash flow for 2024. The capital structure is what we mentioned. The recovery of our confidence allows us to have new levers. We didn't have the sales of strategic assets, and now we're getting back to negotiations since now we have less of a discount to perform some transactions. But these are operations that are more like midterm to perform throughout the quarters. Nothing immediate right now. So then up ahead, where do we want to reach? We actually mentioned this in the past, but reinforcing this now. We want to be the best retailer that's a specialist for electronics, furniture, and home appliance, offering a full journey. We've already decided this, our efficient journey, customer experience that's customized and really attractive for this kind of product, and efficient operation, physical and digital, that can be sustainable. What does this mean in practical terms? We want to be leaders in our core business. We want to keep our relevance when we talk about core categories. We want to be the consumer's first choice or destination, and we want to continue like this. And to be like this, we have to be competitive. We're going to use CRM to leverage our sales. We have a really extensive customer base, and it's the most efficient channel we have to attract customers to our site and store. Then profitability, robust margins, uh, corporate that's really lean and can generate more value than other competitors. And the fourth pillar, which I had to mention, is culture. We reviewed our values to rescue culture, and we wanted to highlight which values these are. So dedication to customers' passion towards our people, delivering results. We want to make a difference and in everything we do. Austerity, which needs to be a simple and efficient operation. So we wanted to start with the Q&A session now. I'll pass the floor to Gabriel. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Renato and Alcio. I'm going to call on our first question from Felipe Roboredo from Citi. Hi there. Good morning. This is Renato and Super and everyone. On Citi's side, we just want to understand a bit more of the short-term points, right? With the monetization of the tax credits, if you could explore a bit more of this perspective for this 2024 and 2025. And the second point to explore is we have a bit of a difficulty to see the adjusted EBITDA because quite frequently we're distancing ourselves from the accounting EBITDA because of these one-off points we had throughout the quarters. So really when we talk about the restructuring plan for the company, and I wanted to understand if we can expect for the first quarter of 2024 this these big auctions and different special sales and what we should expect in regards to this, right? And everything that's involved in the last two quarters. Thanks, guys. Great. Let me start off here with the credits issue, and then after I will pass this on to Renato. So about the tax credits, I think we shared this quickly, and we're very focused on monitoring this with the validation and certification process and sales to third parties, and all of the other initiatives operationally and internally on this topic. So it's a gradual process. It does not only rely on the company. There's a process to certify the credit so we can have the sale to third parties. and we had some strong acceleration in the second quarter. We continue to be strong, and it's still early to say um, to talk about the full year because it doesn't only depend on the company, but we can say we're relatively in line with 2024. And of course, it depends on, we're going to update you guys gradually, but the idea is that we should have something quite similar and in line with 2023. Well, getting into the second question, the adjusted EBITDA, as we mentioned on the 10th of August, the third and fourth quarters are really where we'll have the biggest impact on the transformation plan. So we're not seeing these levels of impact up ahead. And when we look at the first quarter, it's a lot cleaner. So that's why we were saying that the market will have to look at the first quarter and see what's this new motor I talked about, right? So you don't have like reorganization processes anymore, uh, writing off assets and firing people and all of this. But this is not material. We may have to close down a few things, but very insignificant, not anything at these levels. So we're going to have an adjusted EBITDA that's a lot closer to the accounting value. And of course, we can see this easier with the company's reality. So on the P&L side and also the cash flow from the first quarter onwards, we'll start seeing a whole other trend. When we talk about the improvement in margin, the EBITDA margin, it's a reconstruction process gradually. The plan still has a lot of levers. We're like at 35% of the execution. So we have a lot to be done still, and that's why it'll be improving quarter over quarter. But I'm convinced that when I look at the target now, fourth or third quarter, we're going to deliver this, and maybe some levers will be able to anticipate, of course, and be prepared if we have any other problems, that we can really deliver the plan within what we planned for and have a company that's profitable at the end of the year, getting into 25 with growth possibilities. So this is what we're looking at without any negative surprises in the short term. Well, super clear, guys. Thank you, Felipe. Thank you, Felipe. Our next question is from Irma Sgarz from Goldman Sachs. Irma, please, you may proceed. Hi, good morning. Good afternoon, actually. But anyways, I wanted to talk about the two pillars in our adjustment restructuring. One is the adjustments and the impact of the stores. I understand we already advanced a lot with this last year, and how much is still missing for this year. And the other one is the pricing pillar, which I think is this project that's still on its first phase. As you look at that ball you showed us on the slide. So I wanted to get a feel of how this has been advancing. Thank you. The store network. Well, remember, a lot of the cost would be the cost of the exceeding stock, which incurred on cost of capital. And so, of course, that impacted the net margin. So that's why we adjusted this. Well, it was on our calculations that was negative, even with these adjustments. So there are some stores that, depending on their sales performance, can be profitable. And if with this new commercial condition, you don't increase the penetration of services and you can't overcome this watermark, we could close them down. So do you expect something? Well, then we're working with a base scenario, keeping them profitable and open. So if you see this is not going to work, then we'll just close them down. And so the biggest part is done. The structural aspects are done, but eventually you'd have to assess this with the normal market conditions where you're going to have stores that are going to be opening, closing. But this year we won't open up stores. Maybe 20 stores we could close down. We're going to try to recover them, though, to avoid their closure. So the other pillar that's very important, we talk about pricing and mix. The company has a pricing model that's really focused on the industry reality, and that's when you have these incentives as well, allowing us to be competitive in moments like Mother's Day and other periods that are really strong for retail, and industries being pressured also to invest and to transfer this to consumers, guaranteeing our margins. But we still have a lot of room for pricing dynamic, right? Um, and also the types of stores online with different consumers. And so we see this lever to bring 1 to 2 points in the margin. But of course, this will take a while. We're piloting a few categories. We have some algorithm work to have a pricing model that it's not a generative AI, but a machine learning basic structure to have a more customized pricing system that's more granular, looking at the tail items, right? So when you look at the long tail, it's very relevant, and we have a lot of opportunities to increase prices in certain items and gain margins, and in others guarantee good margins but accelerate the conversion and sales. So this is hand in hand with the mix leverage with the clusterization, where we also had almost all of the products in all the stores, then it wouldn't make sense to adjust certain SKUs to be more in 3P and having this adequate product mix for each type of store, which really simplifies our efforts, makes it easier to have logistics, optimizes logistics, and also helps us with our pricing system, and even gives us greater ease with the sales teams to know which product is a winner in that category store. And then as soon as the customer arrives, they'll have the option of the customer and what's recommended for the store of what generates more margin and brings excellent conditions to the customer. So we're still going to see the overall impacts of this more towards the second half of the
Claro,
year.
Renato, obrigada.
Perfect. Very clear, Renato. Thank you so much. Thank you, Irma. Okay,
A
thank you,
próxima
Irma.
pergunta
Our
do
next
Nicolas,
question
da
is
do JP
from
Morgan. Nico,
Nicholas
pode seguir,
from
por favor.
JP Morgan. Nico, you may proceed.
Obrigado, Sucar. Boa tarde, Renato,
Thank
Emerson.
you,
Obrigado por pegar
Sukar.
nossa
Good
pergunta.
afternoon,
Eu tenho
Renato.
duas, na
And so
verdade. A primeira é sobre
I have
aquele
two questions,
crediário.
actually.
Eu
The
queria
first one
entender
is about the buy now,
como
pay
que vai
later,
ser
the
vocês fazem o
crediário.
rollout desse
What's your guys' mindset on the rollout
do FDIC, né? Entender
of
quando
the
que deveria já estar
FDIC
rodando esse plano
financial instrument, and when do
Casas
you imagine
Bahia.
this will
E,
already be
no outro lado,
active in
também
all of the
entender
Casas
pouco
Bahia
como que está a cabeça
stores?
de
And
vocês
on
com
the
o
other
CAPEX
hand, what's
agora
your
em
mindset
2024, né? Vocês falaram que
regarding the CapEx
ainda
now
estão
in
investindo em algumas
2024? You mentioned you're still
das
investing in certain
das
categories
prioritárias, né,
and
relevantes
certain
para a
priority
recuperação da empresa.
initiatives
Queria entender mais ou menos
throughout the
como que a gente deveria
company,
pensar
and
em número
how
de
should we look
investimentos
at this when it
em
comes
reais.
to the
Obrigado.
number of
Bacana.
investments, right?
Obrigado, Nico.
Okay.
Quando fala do
Thank you,
crediário, né?
Nico.
Crediário
When we
continua
talk about
bem.
the
Quando
crediário
fala
or
de
the buy now,
funding do
pay later,
crediário, e
it's
aí
still
tem a
when we talk about
governança,
the
ela fala que a gente
funding,
está em período de
then
silêncio,
there's
a gente
some
não pode
issues
comentar
where at
muito,
a
tá?
silent period we can't
Então,
talk about much in
palavrando, a
regards
gente
to
não pode
this,
fazer
but
comentários adicionais. Quando fala do
so
CAPEX,
it's
a
in
gente entende, a
progress.
gente
When we
falava
talk
lá de
about the
sub
CAPEX,
400
we
milhões,
had
ainda
talked
pode
about
usar
the
esse
sub 400 million,
número, ou seja, ter o teto
which
de
we can
CAPEX
still
por
use
ano de
as a
400
number.
milhões de
We have
reais,
like a
mas quando
peak,
você olha para o quarto
uh,
trimestre, a gente
but
conseguiu
when you
ficar um
look
pouco
at the
abaixo
fourth quarter,
do
we
que
were
era o
able to be
nosso
a little bit
plano, então a
lower
gente entende que
than
esse
what
é um
was
bom
initially the
ritmo
plan,
para a situação
and
atual
we
do mercado,
understand
a
this is a
situação
pretty
atual
good
do mundo. Mais os investimentos
pace
precisam ser
for
feitos
the overall
em experiência
situation in
do
the
cliente,
market. So
principalmente
we work on the
otimização da
investments
jornada
required
digital do
for the
nosso
customer
cliente,
experience,
melhoria da
optimizing
jornada
the
dos
digital
produtos e serviços de
journey,
crédito no digital por
improving
meio
the
da
products
aplicação,
and
um
services and
pouquinho de
credit,
melhoria no sistema de loja e algumas melhorias
a
no
little bit
sistema
of the
logístico, que
improvements in
também
the
reduzem o
store
custo da
systems
companhia. Mas
and
é um
logistics
CAPEX que
that
não
also
considera
reduce costs for
expansão
the company, but
de
it's a
loja
capex that does
e
not
que
consider
a
the store
gente fica nesse
expansion,
patamar
and that
abaixo de
we
400 milhões de reais em linha
consider
com o
this
quarto
level
trimestre
below
de
400 million
23.
reais in line with the fourth quarter of 23.
Beleza. Obrigado, Renato.
Okay, thank you, Renato.
Obrigado, Nicolas.
Thank
Nossa
you,
próxima
Nicholas.
pergunta é
Our
do
next
Gustavo
question
Senday, da
is
XP.
from Gustavo
Pode seguir,
Sendai
Gustavo.
from XP.
Oi,
Please,
boa
Gustavo,
tarde,
you may
pessoal.
proceed. Hi, guys.
Gabriel,
Good
Renato,
afternoon.
Emerson. Obrigado aqui
Gabriel,
pela
Renato,
pergunta. Eu tenho
Benelcio,
duas
thanks
também.
for taking
A
my
minha primeira
question.
é
I have
mais
two
sobre
actually,
capital de
but
giro, né? Acho que vocês
my question
demonstraram
is more
uma
about the
força
working
grande aqui no
capital.
número
You
de
mentioned
estoques.
major
Agora eu queria pensar um
strength in
pouquinho
the
mais na ótica de
stock
fornecedor, né? Se
control,
vocês
and I
me
want to
recebem
look at
alguma
this from
força,
the
alguma
supplier's
ajuda, um
perspective.
suporte deles,
Have
o
you
que a
had
gente poderia
any
esperar
support
desse
or
ali,
help from
né, ao longo
suppliers?
de
What
2024,
can
porque
we
imagino que são
expect for
duas
this
linhas que
throughout
conversam um pouco
2024? I
juntas, né?
understand that these are
Eh,
two lines
e
that
aí
are
a segunda
probably
pergunta, né,
in
acho que
some
olhando
way.
os
And the
mix
second
canais, eu não
question is when you
percebo
look at
que
the
tem feito alguns ajustes só no
channel
1P,
mix, we can
só
see
para
some
a gente tentar entender
adjustments
um
in
pouquinho da margem de
3P and in
contribuição
1P,
desses
and I
dois
want to understand
canais
a bit more about the contribution
nesse
margin
momento,
of
como
these
é que isso vem
channels
evoluindo ao longo
at this
do ano
point
de
in time, and
2023
how this has
e o que
been
vocês
evolving
esperam
throughout
de melhoria para 24.
2023, and what you
Obrigado.
expect as improvements in 2024.
Muito obrigado, Gustavo.
Thank you,
Falando ainda da taxa de
Gustavo.
giro, né,
As we
o
talk
que a gente
about the
conseguiu
working
implantar por
capital,
aqui é
what we were
sustentável,
able
né,
to
então ela é
deploy here is
disciplina
really sustainable.
de
So it's
alocação
about
de capital e de
discipline
compra, ou
with
seja, aquele
capital
dinheiro que a gente vai
allocation
vender
and
e tem um
buying what
patamar de
will be
estoque, é
sold.
o patamar de estoque que a
So
gente pretende
this
trabalhar,
stock
com isso a
level is
conta de
what we plan to
fornecedores,
work with, and
elas só
with this, the
variam com essas
purchases also of
normalidade que a gente tem
suppliers will
no
only
ano,
according
de
to
acordo
the
com os
seasonality we
eventos que
have in the
compram um
year,
pouco mais para fazer a
according
venda
to
de
the
Dia das
events where you
Compras,
buy a
dia
little
do Black
more,
Friday e tal, então isso pode
to have
alterar a
Black
conta de fornecedores,
Friday,
mas
and all of
esse é o
this
novo patamar da
affects the
companhia, não tem nenhuma
purchase
ajuda pontual,
from
a gente tem
suppliers,
operado
but of
bem
course
e de
there's
forma
no like
agora
special additional
estruturalmente
help. We've been
melhor,
operating
quando
well,
fala na dinâmica
and
de
now it's
giro da
structurally
companhia.
better
É isso que a gente
when
vai
you talk
manter.
about the working
Quanto
capital
a
in
essa
the
segunda
company, and this is
pergunta,
what we're going
margem de
to keep.
contribuição do 3P
Then
versus
the
1P,
second question about
o
the
3P a gente
contribution margin,
conseguiu ajustar para ter uma
3P,
margem de
we were able
contribuição
to adjust to
positiva
have a
e ter
contribution
o
margin that's
resultado do
positive
negócio
and
3P
have results
já
in the
parando de queimar
3P
caixa e
business
chegando ali no break-even.
that are
Por
already
oportunidade,
stopping
tem
the cash
oportunidades de
burning
melhorar a
and
penetração de
reaching
serviços e
break
soluções
even.
de crédito que a
So
gente
there's
não
still
faz hoje no
opportunities you can
3P,
improve the
e que
service
contribui
conditions
bastante.
and
Serviços
offering
eles,
better
não
credit
só a
and
parte de
services,
garantia,
not
fulfillment, mas
only
também
when it
serviço
comes
para o
to
seller.
insurance,
Fulfillment
but
continua
also
crescendo,
services
você vê
to
um crescimento de
sellers,
60%
because
de
fulfillment
serviços,
continues to
prazos de
grow.
entrega melhoraram
The
bastante,
delivery rates
continua
also
atraindo
improved
mais
a lot,
fornecedores
so we
para
continue
fazer o
to
fulfillment.
extract
Fechamos um contrato
to
novo, é
attract more
quase um modelo de
suppliers for
dropship,
fulfillment. We
também
also
vai
have
nos
this
ajudar.
new
A CNT
model.
tem
It's almost
crescido
like a
bastante e
dropship
contribui
model. This
com a
MP has been
margem de
growing a lot,
contribuição do negócio
contributes a
como um
lot
todo de
to
3P.
the
Claro que
contribution
um
margin
pedaço dela
overall for
acaba entrando no
3P.
mar aberto,
But of
aí
course,
entra com
part of this
serviço
gets into
de
the
logística que
blue
contribui para a margem da
ocean there, and
companhia
then
como um
you
todo.
have
Quando a gente olha
logistics that
no
contributes to
modelo
the company's
normalizado,
margins overall.
a
When you look at
margem
the
de contribuição
normalized,
tende a ser parecida no
the
1P versus
contribution margin
3P.
is very similar,
Qual que é a
1P
grande
and
diferença? O
3P.
3P entrega
And the
muito mais
main
ROIC,
that
porque você não
3P
tem que pagar
delivers
o
a lot more
empregado, né?
ROI
O
because
empregado
you
é
don't have
muito
employed
menor,
capital.
porque ele não é em
The
função
employed
das
capital is a
vendas, é
lot
mais a estrutura que a
smaller
gente
because
tem, o
it's
CAPEx
not
de
it's
sistema, esse
more
tipo de coisa.
related to the structure, the
Então, do
capex
ponto
and the
de vista de
systems,
ROIC
etc.
e de
So
TIR,
from a
o
ROIC
3P ele é
perspective and a
mais
tier,
vantajoso, ele
the
entrega a
3P is a
rentabilidade
lot
melhor,
more of an
mais garantido,
advantage. It
mas
provides
margem de
better
contribuição
profitability
parecida, quando
on
a gente olha
invested
para
capital,
Bahia, para
but a
BV, é bem
similar
parecido.
contribution margin when you look at the LA layer,
Obrigado,
etc.
Renato.
It's very similar.
Obrigado, Gustavo.
Okay, thank you, Renato. Thank you,
Obrigado,
Gustavo.
Gustavo. Nossa
Well,
próxima
thanks, Gustavo.
pergunta
Next
é do
question
Eric
is
do
coming
Santander.
from
Eric,
Eric
pode
from
seguir.
Santander.
Boa
Eric,
tarde,
you may
pessoal. Obrigado
proceed.
por pegar
Okay,
nossas
guys,
perguntas.
thanks for taking your
Acho que do
questions.
nosso lado, um
On
follow-up
our
aqui na
side,
parte
we
do
have
capital
a
de
follow-up
giro, né?
here,
Acho que
the
vocês
working
discutiram aí
capital.
tanto o lado de estoques
I
quanto
think
dos
you guys
fornecedores e
discussed
até
the
discutir um
stock
pouquinho o
and
lado de
supplies a
recebíveis,
bit.
entender
So
como
just
que vocês
to
estão olhando a
discuss the
dinâmica desse
receivables and
lado,
how
de
you're looking at
repente,
this dynamic,
antecipação de recebíveis, como que está esse volume, o que que
anticipation
seria
of
um
some
volume talvez
receivables,
ideal
and what would
nesse
be
ponto na
the
visão de vocês.
ideal volume in
E
this
o
point in
segundo
time,
aqui, acho que tentando olhar um
from your
pouquinho mais para o
perception,
lado
and also when you
de
look at
alavancagem, né?
the
Se vocês puderem passar um pouco
leverage
de visão de
aspects
como
a little
vocês olham
more.
isso
Can you give us
para o
a
final
bit
do
of a
ano. Acho
vision
que o
on
nosso
how
Renato
you're seeing
comentou aí
this
no
in the end of the
começo
year?
dos
Elsie
trabalhos, né, em
mentioned
termos de
this in the
alongamento,
beginning
mas
of
acho
the
que se
work
vocês tiverem algum target
when
de
it comes
Selic,
to
déficit de EBITDA para o
extensions.
final
But
do
if
ano,
you
algo
do
do
have any
tipo,
target
acho que também para
for the
ajudar a
net
gente
debt to
a
EBITDA,
construir
I think that would help us
essa
to
ponte ali até o final do ano em
build
termos de
this
rentabilidade e
bridge
avanço
until
das
the end of the
suas
year when it
recebíveis.
comes to
Obrigado.
profitability and advancing.
Legal,
Thanks,
legal,
guys.
Eric.
Okay,
deixa eu pegar essa daqui,
great.
o Renato
Thanks,
já
Eric. Let me
perguntou
get this
depois, mas
one
o capital de
add
giro,
on if he needs to. But
de
the
forma
working
geral,
capital,
falando bastante aqui dos
generally,
estoques
when you talk about the
e dos
stocks
fornecedores, em relação aos
and
nossos recebíveis,
suppliers,
aqui é uma
generally, when
dinâmica,
it
a gente tem
comes to
focado nos próprios
receivables,
meios de
it's a
pagamento
dynamic
que nós
of the
recebemos dos
payment
clientes, a
means
gente
that
tem
we
focado
receive from
bastante
customers. We've
na
been
vista,
focusing a
né,
lot on
questão do capital,
upfront
das taxas
payments
de
and
juros, a gente
capital,
tem focado muito
the
como nós
installments
otimizamos
free of
esse
interest, and we
fluxo de
focus on this a
pagamentos que nós
lot since
temos,
we
o
use
fluxo
this mix
diário
a
da
lot
Fortaleza da
with the
companhia,
buy now pay
e aí,
later
obviamente, a
system.
gente vai
And of
balizando
course,
um pouco nos
we're going to be
volumes,
balancing
com as
this out through
necessidades
the
de linha que nós
volumes
temos, e
and the
vamos
needs
otimizando aqui
we
ao longo
have,
do tempo.
and
Não
we'll
é uma
optimize this over
uma
time.
fórmula mágica, não é
So
muito
there's not
impressionante,
like a
mas é
magic
depende das
formula
nossas
related to our
ferramentas e
sales
até
and the payment
dos
mixes
instrumentos que a
and
gente tem
the
disponível
sources
aqui no
and
Chile.
costs of the
Com
funding that we
relação à
have versus other alternatives. When it comes to the leverage, I think we're gonna have a process that starts off really with the increase of the EBITDA in the company. So as the transformation plan has its benefits here in our P&L gradually in a more consistent way, then we'll be able to have a bit of this improvement in the efficiency and the cash versus what we are at today or the EBITDA, and of course, it'll improve over time.
Bacana, acho que vale só
Okay, that's
adicional,
great. Now,
e
just
só
one
já
additional
pegando
point
o
that I
gancho
think
na
is
tua pergunta da
important.
questão dos
Uh,
recebíveis, a gente
when
tem
it comes
estimulado
to
bastante
percentage of the
PIX, né.
receivables, we've been
E o que é legal aqui? A gente está
encouraging
falando
PIX
que
a
a gente
lot.
vai
And
normalizar a
what's
margem
interesting,
bruta, só que com uma
normalize the
participação muito
growth,
maior de PIX
but we'll have
versus o que a
a
gente tinha
bigger
de
share
parcelamento sem juros. Ou seja,
Pix
a
versus
margem
what we
bruta
had
passa a
in
conversar
the
muito
installments
mais com a margem
prevention.
LAIR,
So the
porque a gente
gross
tinha uma
margin is going
despesa
to be
financeira que, de
interacting a lot more with
administração
the
das despesas, que
LAR
acabava impactando
margin, which was
o LAIR
actually
nosso.
impacting
Então, é uma margem bruta que, quando
our
você vai
LAR
normalizando, ela fica mais
and the
saudável
company.
do que
So
era a
when you
margem bruta
normalize this, it's
histórica da
going to be a lot
companhia,
healthier
uma vez que você tem um
than the
percentual de
historical
Pix muito
levels
maior.
because you'll have
E
a
aí,
PIX
obviamente, é
percentage
que fica
that's
no
a lot
cartão,
greater.
a estratégia
And
que
then, of
geraria
course,
crowdfunding
you
mais
have the
barato, você
treasury
acaba usando
strategy, and
também.
sometimes it's
Então,
going to be
é mais ou
a
menos isso.
cheaper funding model
Obrigado,
that you'll end up using.
Perfeito, obrigado pelas
So that's pretty
respostas.
much it. Okay, thank you for the answers.
Obrigado, Eric. Agora eu vou chamar o
Thanks,
Andrew do
Eric.
Morgan Stanley.
Now I'll call
Renato,
Andrew
por favor,
from
vocês
Morgan
podem
Stanley.
responder em
And
português, tá
Renato,
bom?
you can also answer this in Portuguese, okay?
Andrew, go on, please. Thanks.
Andrew, you may
Thanks
proceed.
very much for the questions. Just to follow up on the 1P to 3P mix, you mentioned the categories migrated. I'm just curious how meaningful the drag was for 1P and then the uplift in 3P. And then just if we take a step back on the marketplace, it
E
grew
se a
for the
gente der um
year,
passo
but
no
declined in
marketplace,
4Q.
cresceu no
So I'm
ano, mas
curious your perspective on
declinou
both
no
marketplace
quarto
growth for
TRI.
2024 and then how it
Então,
fits
queria
into
entender
the
sua visão
2025 and
sobre
beyond vision. Thank you.
2024 e como isso encaixa para 2025 adiante.
Perfect. Thank
Obrigada.
you, Andrew. I will answer in
Obrigada,
Portuguese so
Andrew.
that
Vou
everybody
responder em
will
português
catch up, okay?
para que todos possam
Então,
acompanhar.
pessoal, a pergunta foi relativa à migração do 1P para o 3P.
Well, the question was about the
E
migration of
também
1P to
mostrando aí o
3P
crescimento do
and also
3P, mostrando a
demonstrating the
relação
growth in
entre o terceiro
3P
TRI
and
e o quarto TRI
the
aqui.
variation
Portanto,
between the
pode se
third quarter
esperar
and the
do
fourth
nosso
quarter,
3P olhando para
and what we
frente,
can
olhando para
expect from our
24 e
3P if
25.
we look up ahead
O nosso
in
marketplace,
24
ele
and
tem uma
25.
mudança
Marketplace
estrutural,
had a
está
structural
muito
change
concentrado agora
because
em
it's very
categorias core.
concentrated now in
Então, a
some
gente, apesar de ter
core
rentabilidade em
categories. So
categorias que
although we
geram
have
uma audiência
profitability in
importante que
non-core
permitiria
categories and
crescer no
we have
core,
the
não é
possibility to
onde nós
grow
vamos
our
alocar
non-core,
nosso
that's not where
capital.
we're going to be
Acho
allocating
que
our
o Casas
capital.
Bahia Ads é uma
And I think
plataforma
Casas
perfeita
Bahia
em que o
Ads
seller
is a platform that
coloca
allows
seu
the
dinheiro
seller
para alavancar vendas na nossa
to add
plataforma
cash
e
to
com isso
leverage
crescer um pouquinho
sales
do
in our
não core.
platform and
Mas não
with
é
this
onde a
grow a bit
gente
of our
vai ter dinheiro
non-core,
próprio
but it's
para
not
fazer
where we're
acontecer.
going to
A
put our
gente vê
own
o
capital
3P
into to make
como
this
um
happen.
canal
We saw
orgânico
3P as a channel that's
para
organic,
funcionar com
that can work
compatível com o que
as
oferece o nosso 1P.
something that's
Então, a
compatible
migração
with our
ocorreu,
1P.
tem
So
sim
the
alguns
migration
SKUs que fazem
happened.
sentido
There
estar
are
lá no
some
3P,
SKUs that
e o
make
Casas
sense
Bahia Ads ele
to be
pode
present in
trazer
the
esse
3P, and
crescimento
Casas Bahia
adicional
Ads
ali
can
para o
bring
3P. Então,
additional
quando a gente
growth
olha no longo prazo,
3P. So when
a
you
gente
look at this
entende
in the
que
long
por
term,
100 milhões de
we
clientes
can
na base,
understand
mais de
that since you have
37
100
milhões de
million
acessos
customers in the
mensais,
base,
então
over
tem uma
37
audiência muito
million
grande.
accesses,
Que ele
we
usando
have
o Casas
pretty
Bahia
big
Ads, o piloto piloto que a gente fez foi
audience.
apenas
And
uma
so
venda
with
com um
this,
fornecedor, cresceu
we had
24%,
one
com dois
supplier growing
fornecedores em janeiro
24%,
diferentes, também com
two
crescimento superior a
suppliers
20%.
that were different
E aí a
also with
gente
growth
agora
above 20%. And now
fechamos 20 contratos que começam agora a partir de abril. E aí vão entrando mais gente que pode estimular. Mas o grosso que a gente está fazendo nesses contratos também são players de categorias core, que é onde a gente entende que o nosso 3P tem mais força. Nosso objetivo não é competir com os demais, é um 3P diferente, ticket médio maior, e trabalhar para aumentar a penetração de serviço. É isso que a gente espera, então ele ficar mais proporcional ao nosso core da companhia. Tá?
Obrigado, Renato.
Thank you, Andrew. Nossa próxima pergunta é do Iago Souza, da Genial. Iago, pode prosseguir. Obrigado.
Opa, boa tarde, pessoal. Obrigado aí pelo espaço. Eu tenho 3 perguntas aqui do nosso lado, tá? A primeira, eu quero entender um pouco aí sobre o economics dessas lojas, do fechamento de lojas não rentáveis. Se vocês veem esse fluxo indo para outras lojas em um raio próximo, ou se vocês sentem aí que esse fluxo é um fluxo perdido e vocês não vão brigar por ele aí com a concorrência. A outra pergunta em relação à readequação dos CDs. Vocês têm mais 10 centros de distribuição aí que vocês pretendem readequar. Como é que está sendo feito isso daí? Se vocês estão se desfazendo de parte da área deles, em termos de impacto de despesas, e se a gente juntar ali junto com o fechamento de mais 20 lojas, pelo que eu entendi ao longo de 2024, a gente deve ter um nível de despesa de 150 milhões no trimestre. É algo que faz sentido, pode ser um pouco maior, um pouco menor. E a última pergunta é sobre o DIFAL. Então, sei que foi algo que acometeu ali o setor no trimestre, não era algo que a gente projetava, até por conta da visibilidade, não dá para projetar esse número, Mas entendendo daqui para frente, foi provisionado 100% desse valor ou vocês entendem que pode vir a ocorrer algum outro nível de provisionamento aqui? Obrigado.
Obrigado, Iago. Vamos lá, primeiro, lojas fechadas. Aqui a realidade é diferente de loja para loja, tá? Todas elas a gente tem uma loja na cidade, algumas tem no quarteirão. Então a gente tem local que a migração foi de 50%, 60%, nenhuma foi mais do que isso, tá? Mas alguns locais a migração foi 20%, 10%, é pequena. Então, de fluxo, a gente até não vê, a gente vê na conversão de vendas uma melhoria, tá? O fluxo, ele está muito impactado em várias regiões pelo mercado, né? Quando a gente pega, assim, janeiro, a gente teve um fluxo mais forte na liquidação, que é o início, depois diminuiu, fevereiro já mais fraco, aí março, o início, semana do consumidor, foi bem forte a primeira quinzena, depois ele esfriou de novo. E aí a gente vai apurar essa migração específica de uma loja para outra, não é trivial. A gente está considerando aqui que perde bastante dessa venda. A gente colocou lá que podia perder tudo. Na prática, acho que 20% aí migra, é uma coisa pequena. São lojas pequenas, né? A gente não fechou nenhuma loja grande, então não é tão material assim. A readequação dos CDs, o que tinha para devolver, tem 2 CDs talvez que a gente pode resolver pagar uma multa contratual. O restante, a maior parte, a gente está sublocando uma área do nosso CD. Então as despesas são menores. As grandes a gente já gastou, já readequou, movimentou tudo e deixou o espaço vazio, que agora é só sublocar. Então a despesa, a maior parte já entrou, o que tem agora é muito pequenininho para ficar ao longo de 24. Então quando a gente pega a sua ponto lá de fechamento de loja, CD, se teria 150 milhões, acho que no ano todo, se você pensar em 100 milhões de reais, é mais perto desse número, tá? E que pode entrar ali da readequação e de eventuais multas, de fechamento de loja, fechamento de CD. Mas o grosso material aqui, a maior parte mais relevante é a readequação via sublocação. Então a gente está em conversa com o mercado, já tem propósito, obviamente tentando otimizar, e um ou outro pode fazer sentido ficar vazio. A gente fica com o option de poder reabrir. Eu só desliguei todos os colaboradores, desligamos ali os contratos de terceiros, e a gente fica com a operação de um entreposto, que é um custo muito mais baixo do que um CD, e fazendo a entrega direto de um CD maior, que estava mais longe do cliente, mas conseguindo entregar ainda em 30 horas ou no máximo 48 horas, que a gente entende que é um prazo razoável, bom para a nossa categoria. Tá? Do default, a gente realmente é um fato novo, pode ter reversão, né? Lembrando, isso aqui não é definitivo, os advogados insistem que ainda é um fator possível, ou seja, probabilidade maior de ganhar do que de perder, mas pela área técnica nossa, discutindo tudo aqui, foi o valor que a gente entendeu como provisão razoável, eficiente e que tem que fazer nesse momento. Aí não sei se o Elcio quer dar mais um pouquinho de cor aí sobre default.
Deixa eu colocar, acho que o importante, de fato, aqui, Iago, ele não tem impacto caixa. Nós temos aqui aproximadamente 340 milhões de depósitos judiciais que, no final do dia, ao término desse processo, qual seja a sua decisão final em todos os aspectos, podemos até ter um benefício, né, uma recuperação de caixa advindo desse levantamento desses depósitos judiciais. Então, acho que qualquer que tenha sido o valor, foi 220 aqui, ele é um evento não caixa e a gente não espera que tenha um consumo de caixa oriundo deste tema de default 22.
Perfeito. Obrigado, Iago.
Perfeito. Obrigado, pessoal.
Obrigado, Iago.
Valeu.
Renato e Elcio, a gente não tem mais perguntas, então vou passar a palavra para vocês fazerem o encerramento, tá bom?
Muito obrigado. Pessoal, acho que a gente procurou aqui reforçar, né, as principais mensagens do ano. Acho que a gente está bem feliz, acho que deixar a mensagem clara aqui no final, estamos felizes, confiantes com a capacidade de execução do time. Acho que tem entregas muito importantes ao longo de 2023. A gente já tinha falado com o mercado e já sabia, né, os números de P&L seriam impactados por esses custos de reestruturação. Alguns desses gastos, o payback é de 12 meses, mas eles eram necessários para a gente poder ter uma companhia leve, eficiente, rentável em qualquer cenário de demanda, não ficar dependendo de crescimento e de uma escala muito maior do que a atual para poder gerar valor. A gente consegue agora ter uma companhia que vai gerar valor mesmo em cenários de mercado com demanda um pouco mais reprimida. Esse foi o nosso objetivo, estamos satisfeitos até aqui, obviamente com a consciência que temos desafios de curto prazo, tem muita execução para ser feita ainda, mas a execução vem vindo num ritmo bom, hoje muito mais confiante, muito mais leve, muito mais animado com o futuro da companhia, com o que a gente tem para viver em 24. Então agradeço a todos que confiaram até aqui, e sei que o início foi mais difícil, entramos aqui numa nova fase, aí para começar agora a mostrar boas notícias a cada trimestre, com melhoria gradativa a cada trimestre. O bom é que o próximo trimestre é mais rápido, né? Daqui 2 meses já está falando de novo, e aí pode dar um update para vocês, mostrando por que a gente está confiante, por que está melhorando e como que a companhia vai ser vista lá no final de 24. Muito obrigado, viu, gente? Obrigado a todos, uma boa tarde. Até logo.